Okay, I will join YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and pray. Father, we thank you for MHSAI. Thank you for our leadership. Thank you for who we are. We surrender ourselves to you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the board member. Thank you for open doors. Open doors. I thank you and I lift up your name. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Go ahead, Kevin. God bless you. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you much. Come now. I appreciate your statement there. We also want to kind of keep a small eye on your chat. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to type it there. But we always want to keep it professional, making sure it sounds correct and it's done the right way. With that said, I will invite our Reverend One Boy to read our disclaimer as we move on, and she also has a short piece of video that she'll play for us. Remember, these are the tough conversations that happen at home. It could be in your community, next door, in your neighborhood. But what happens if you have this come up, or you have a child or a family member going through these phases? That's what we're here to do. Share, empower, give resources, and let you know. Remember, speak out for them. Check on them. Check on somebody. As we do that, hey, if you know somebody in your community, your neighbor that is sitting down or at work, share this to them. Let's give them an invite so we can continue to spread this great, great information. Over to you, Reverend One Boy. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't play the song. Not the song. I mean the other one. I'm sorry. Be listening. I'm gonna get the song.
As we get the song ready, once again, welcome everybody. Thank you for so many years of support. So much love. We are here this afternoon also. Thank you very much. God bless you.
I'm going to get the screen that I need to share with you. See if you can see it. Can you see the screen I have?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, because I don't want Bonnie.
The biggest lie we've been told is that neuropathy is irreversible and there's no cure. They do
I
it
don't
on
want
purpose.
to play the song, the Bonnie song, because it comes in computer. Just wait a minute, please. Let me, hold on. Be talking. But I get it. Just be talking. I can see you, by the way, so go ahead and keep talking until you see my screen. Dr. Daniela, you let me know.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Reverend One Boy. As you take care of that, it's really, really good as we continue to get to this season, and it's Thanksgiving and Christmas. A lot of celebration that come around this time. At the same time, there's a gap or a group of people that don't have nobody to check on them. So it's highly recommended as you go along your business. If you have someone that you haven't seen or heard from, just check on them. Make sure they're okay. Just a text. It could be a call. If you can see them, make a visit. That's really good. Just to connect with them. Again, I think we see it now.
What do Martin Luther King Jr., JFK, Janet Jackson, Gandhi, Einstein all have in common? They suffered from a mental illness. What is a mental illness? It is a condition that affects a person's thinking, feeling, or mood. Such conditions may affect someone's ability to relate to each others and functions each day. Each person will have different experiences even with the same diagnosis.
Nationwide, dial 988, Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Help is available. Speak with someone today. Available 24 hours, 988lifeline.org. Mental Health Stars started meeting monthly in October 2018 in response to numerous mental health issues among increased suicides of young adults 18 years to 40 years old. STARS is an acronym for Start Talking About It, Remove Stigma. Goal is to demystify mental illness. Proverbs 11:14. In the multitude of counselors there is safety. We invite guests, and together we present a holistic approach to mental health issues.
I have to, thank you. Thank you very much, this is friend Wambui. I do wish to issue a disclaimer. Welcome to Mental Health Awareness Conference. This is our 6th annual conference. And the disclaimer is that we are not your doctors. We are not your psychiatrists. We are not your counselors, but we are professionals in our area of education. We are experts in various issues. Like on this platform, I can see we have pastors, we have professors, we have teachers, we have licensed counselors, we have our community leader, and very knowledgeable individuals. But this is not a clinical conference where we are going to diagnose you or give you diagnostic impression of some kind for your doctor to rule out, or if you are a doctor, this is not the forum. This is our communication as community members who are responsible and who care. As you heard, that we started because we saw a lot of issues in communities pertaining to mental health. And we decided that it is important that we address the pink elephant in the room, especially for us who are in diaspora, because we have come from a new environment and it's very mistrusting. I'm very grateful for Kevin because he always, every time we have met every month since October 2018, except one Tuesday when we were on Facebook Live and somebody, decided this is the time to hack you guys. You are too vulnerable. We haven't even used Facebook as much. So here we are. So we are not your doctor, you are not your psychiatrist, your counselor, your psychotherapist, and you are even your medical provider, your nurse, and all this. And still we have nursing practitioners, nurses on this platform. Who are we? We are community reps that tell you, for this reason, you need to go to your doctor and get together and allow your doctor to diagnose whatever is bugging you. I like to say bugging you, giving you a headache, things like depression. And I thank God because everyone who shows up in the doctor's office, they know actually what they are suffering from. They even tell the doctor the symptoms. And I was thinking, the doctor is working magic. Wapi? Until I was in the clinic many years later. And I had this beautiful book called Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Health Illnesses. So you give me all these things, and then I see your child is this and this and this, and I go root, and the book says that, oh, your child has ADHD, for me who have worked with young people. For that reason, we encourage you also to follow through with your doctor's recommendations for treatment. And if you have any issues with your medication, please consult your doctor. Don't become your own self-prescribing doctor. Don't go and take that over-the-counter medication when you have prescription medication. So follow through. And if you have negative side effects, report. Yesterday we talked about respond rapidly so that you can get treatment. People do testify that as soon as they are in contact with a doctor, they start to feeling better because doctor is prescribing medication for the individual. Another disclaimer is we are a community of faith that love to tell people we pray about it, cast out devils. And unfortunately, I am an ordained minister. I was not taught how to cast out devils. I graduated with a ministry minor called a Christian Ministries from Asbury University, and nobody taught me how to cast out devils. So there are many Bible schools that can do that. Unfortunately, because of my lifetime, I have lived briefly in 3 countries and 3 states. I have hardly met pastors sometimes who they cannot tell the difference between mental illness and a demon. So my question is, you don't even know the difference between mental health illness and a demon. So what are you casting? And Jesus was so clear when the people who came to him and he asked them, what should I do to you? Apparently, this is the Messiah. This is Jesus. This is the one that what we say he's omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent. He's full of power. He knows yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So he knows everything. He's everywhere. And I'm thinking he's asking a person. He can read your mind, I think, and your heart. And he's asking you, what should I do to you? And a man says, Lord, that I might receive my sight. Because at this point when he says that, he is not in denial, because denial is one of the things that hinders from receiving treatment. So when I see come now showing up on his window, I know it's time to keep quiet. I had it over back to Kevin. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Reverend One Boy. Yes. As we continue to share, one thing I'm a huge believer on is once you know something and you know new information, then we perform better. We tackle things differently, and you do better as a person. With that said, remember, as we continue to share, even the different specialists and community leaders that come on this platform, we highly recommend if you reach out to them, let us show respect, accountability to their practice, and follow their process. If they have to call you at a certain time, if they give you a scheduled appointment, the people are functioning at a very time conscious dispensation now, and to be able to stay not only profitable but to meet and touch as many people as possible within a short term window. So we highly recommend follow their guidance, stick to their policy, follow what they recommend, so that way you have the best benefit and the outcome. If you need extension, if you need a referral where you are because you can't travel and things like that, please let them know. So they through their network and through their peers, they can be able to support you. But respect their policies, follow their requirements, their guidelines of their practice, so we can get the optimum output and also be able to get the best service from them. Awesome. With that said, I'm going to invite back Reverend One Boy to go down and also let us know about a few speakers this morning that are coming in. It's really good to see you, Ms. Christine Moshena. I really appreciate you stopping by. And over to you, Reverend One Boy. Thank you.
Again, we want to welcome our first presenter. Please breathe in with your nose and breathe out with your mouth and relax. It's a beautiful Saturday morning here in South Georgia. I can actually see the sunshine. It is lovely. Can you breathe with me? Breathe out with your mouth. That was practice 3 times. Okay, ready? Hold your breath for 5 seconds. Breathe in. Three times. I hope you heard me saying that. Now that you are breathing well, can you relax a little bit? I see people are tight like this. Just shake your body. If we were together, we'll shake our body. We'll put on rock and roll music. It wakes up people up. It's upbeat. And as Kevin says, we are super excited. And here I am honored to introduce our community rep and leader, none other but Miss Christine Moshene. She's a woman who walks with grace and wears so many hats. And if anybody is lost and don't know the way, Mrs. Moshene will point you to the right direction. She also is bold. She speaks when everyone keeps quiet. I honor you, Miss Moshene, because I don't know how you, this week, I saw you write about missions or something, and you told people, hey, we give more money for people who, when they have died and when they are sick than we are even giving for missions. And she said, I'll come back and ask for it. And I was like, I would not have that kind of grace. I'll be a little bit crucified if I told the public that. And yet, thank you for disarming me, because I was so like, that needs to be spoken about. So today we are going to talk about culture. She's going to invite her in her living room or wherever she is. And this woman is a mother and is a grandmother. I really admire you when you take your grandchildren to the park, to activities, and you're documenting. I have not seen anybody else in Georgia who documents events of her family like this. And they honor her. I have also seen you at the soccer field. I have even seen you in downtown when they are running. I have seen her with the ambassador. I have seen her with the president of Kenya. I don't know who I have. Actually, I owe her a lot because I'm not from the greater suburbs of Atlanta with my family. And thank you, Dr. Joe, for gracing this opportunity. Yet, she said, even you, I'm like 200 miles away from where Christine lives, about exit, maybe 260 something or 270 something. So I'm slightly over 200 miles, which will take me 4 or more hours to be where she is because of traffic. Yet, she said, even you, Wamboi, we want to include you in Georgia. Why? Because here where I live, there is only one family. I think I know one family that is from Kenya. But recently, I understand we have a doctor in the neighborhood, not my neighborhood, but surrounding area, 15 miles radius from Kenya. Now I also understand that we may have a professor who has joined us here in the college. So now there's 4 Kenyans. We don't count my daughter because the Americans here said, she's one of us. And I shared about it yesterday. Mrs. Moshene, unmute yourself and take the floor and the microphone. Our host this morning is Kevin Goge. He's a nursing practitioner, and I think he knows Mrs. Moshene too. Go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning. Okay. Now, after Reverend Wambui has spoken, I don't know what to do because she can really talk about me, and some people can think I am the heroine of this country. But anyway, whatever I do, God purpose that I should come into this country in my 40s, and other than look for the dollar, He had another purpose for me. I work in the community, work for the community, and I have enjoyed the last 23 years here in Atlanta serving this great community. Now, mental health stars is not new. I was there the first meeting. I remember I recorded, we had 2 phones. One I was listening, the other one I was recording. It was a call. We had called, dialed in. It was not Zoom. I was at the late Christine Gekanga's house, and she also wanted to talk about depression, about some stuff she was going through. So it's unfortunate that I have not worked a lot with you guys because I love working at night. Because as a community leader, you want to be free during the day and sort out a lot of stuff. Again, when you are a community leader, you think you know everything. So when you work during the day, you collide with so many people. I work in the health field. So I prefer working at night. So like today, I left work at 7, came, slept a little bit, woke up. I'm going back there. So my absence does not mean that I don't support this initiative. Once in a while, I log in when I'm at work. Like last night, Reverend Wabu was calling me. I couldn't talk, but I was listening to what you were saying. So without further ado, I want to talk. I am not going to talk like a lecture. I have points because culture is so wide, it's so big, it needs a lot of many days to discuss about culture. So what I decided to do today is give some points, and then with the course of time, either whoever will come in the afternoon can chip in. After I read what I have written, I am ready to answer any questions, and I would like this discussion to continue in our community because without culture, Waswahili wanasema mwacha mila ni mtumwa. So if we leave all our culture back home and we start aping other people's culture, we will be slaves wherever we live. So I decided to write a short presentation here. Let me just go straight to it. And my computer, I don't know what happened, so I'm not going to use the computer. I'm using my phone. So it is simple. I have made it simple. I just want you to listen. So my name is Christine Mushene. Like Reverend has said, a widow, was married for 42 years until 2019 when the Lord took away my husband. I am a mother of 4, a grandmother of 9. So looking forward to becoming a great grandmother soon. So other than that, I love God. I try to do what He asks us to do. And I serve both the people in church and those who are not in church because our community has everybody. So this is a topic I am very passionate about. I have been talking to younger people, young couples about culture, like when we have weddings and all this. Some like it, some think it is outdated. So I wrote this. Culture is language, song, food, dance, and food. Those are the main things that make culture. So my question, I started with a question. I said, does your children speak your mother tongue? Spanish, Indian, Chinese kids speak their mother tongue, although living and schooling with English-speaking children. Their homes represent their culture and all. We think in our mother tongue, then translate in English. There is deep connection in speaking mother tongue. What about the names we have taken? Nicknames like Kababa, Kamama, Honey, Babe. How does it feel? Now, this is a question directed to our men, younger men, I guess. How does it feel for a strong African man being called babe? Read baby. A man is the strong tower in his house. Why would he want to be referred as a helpless infant. Our parents, those born in the 50s back, used to call their spouses by name. I found that very romantic. Then my generation started, Daddy, Mommy. Your spouse cannot be your parent. The two kinds of loves are totally different. The worst which I regret is Baba or Mama Fulani. Mama Shege, Baba Shege. I know Reverend Wabui calls herself Mama Shiro, Baba Shiro. Some people back home just know me as Mama Shege because nobody wanted to refer me by my name. So I lost my identity and became, my identity now is somebody's mother. So I have 4 children. So when you call me Mama Sheke, what happens about the other 3? Are they not my children? I have lived and worked with white folks. The older ones call their spouses by name. What do you think about that? I think it's a great thing. So enough about names. Let us go to song and dance. Africa is blessed with vibrant, educative songs and dances. We have dances for every occasion, including funerals. Do your children shy away from these songs and dances? If so, what are you doing about it? 3 weeks ago, I was called for an evening at my daughter's house, and we had a bonfire, and all my grandkids were there. Those I have 7 here too in UK. And it was very interesting when we were asked to give whatever song you want to sing. So one of my grandson, actually the eldest one, gave us a song, a Kikuyu song. So I was left wondering, how did this boy know about this Kikuyu song? So it was very interesting. Well, it is not a Christian song, and there were some Christian people there, like one of my son-in-law is a deacon in his church. So when it was prayed, I said, what? So I later on realized all of them were enjoying the beats. They don't understand what the song is saying. They did not understand what the song was. But that African beat in that song made even those ones who I was not expecting, they are not going to dance on music. What do you call it? The music which is not for church. So they all stood up. So why did they stand up? It's not because of the words, because it was talking about a girl who was abandoned, and the man is saying, I'll come look for you because you are mine. So most of them didn't understand what it was saying, and especially my son-in-law is not a Kikuyu, and the song was in Kikuyu, but everybody stood. Why? Because of that African beat in that song. So my advice is, as we meet this Thanksgiving, a lot of families will meet together, and we also have Christmas coming. Play those songs, those African songs we used to listen at home, and come back when we meet again. Tell me the reaction of the people who will be in your house, both young and old. African music is very educative. It teaches about family, about love. Of course, most of it is about love. It teaches about marriages. So it is very, very important that we embrace our dances, our music. It's good. Like now we are looking forward to this group called itself We Too here in Atlanta, the 4th reunion. And I was listening to the board the other day because they elected me to read the organization of the reunion, which will be June next year. So we are struggling to look for Kikuyu songs because it will be a Kikuyu gathering. So why should we play English songs or Swahili songs in a Kikuyu gathering, which is trying to learn about the culture we left at home? So in case you have those good Kikuyu songs, send them to me. So lastly, I said culture is language, song, dance, and food. So food, Africans are great cooks. They eat all the herbs in the world through cooking. An example is the fai. My grandmother used to cook, to mash food, potatoes, maize, beans with the fai all the time. We have come to discover that safai or stinging nettle helps those people with diabetes and many, many, many herbs. I was raised by my grandparents, so I saw a lot of those herbs. So this is why I always wonder why our grandparents lived long and without sickness. Yes, because their food was also their medicine. I have interacted with a priest who lived in Brazil, Central America for 10 years. He went back to Kenya, and he said for the 10 years he lived in Central America, he learned about herbs. And he realized that the climate of Central America is the same as that of Kenya. So you'll find the same trees there are the same trees in Kenya. So he lives in Murang'a. He has taken it upon himself to look for all the leaves, all the roots. I was once there at his parish, and I remember I arrived there at 6 a.m. to get whatever concussion I needed, and I found a long queue up to the gate. People sleep at the hotels in Kangema to be able to go there in the morning. So there is a lot of medicine in food. I will not elaborate like Dr. Wambui said, we are not doctors. So I don't want to be a herbalist in this group. But we all know, especially after COVID, we discovered there is a lot of healing power in a lot of leaves, in a lot of roots. So let us continue and encourage our people to eat the healthy food, the herbs. And one thing before I finish about food, I have seen youth at our church. So the mother is 5'1" like me. The father is 5'5". Then here comes their offspring, 6 feet, 5'8". So what is happening? I said this I don't think this comes from the genes. This must be the type of food we are eating. Now, my grandkids who are 15, 14, and 13, the first three, they are already now, the two are already taller than me. So I say, these are not genes. I've never seen tall people in my family. So let us encourage, as we preserve our genes, let us encourage our people to eat the right food, stop the processed food. I know people here are busy. I'm also busy. But like now, before I go back to sleep, I'll fix something good and eat. Take time to cook because your health, you cannot buy your health with all the money you are going to earn from all those jobs. So that is what I had come up with. If there is a question, I am here to answer. If no question, then we can continue to the next presenter.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I have a question for you, our leader. Are we losing our culture? Vasavi from Kenya here, are we losing it? And thank you for stepping up for pushing that agenda. Do you think because we are here, we are losing that culture?
Yeah, most of us are losing that culture. And it is a lot. That is why I said I want to come back so that you can see me. Yeah, and that is why I said if this is a big topic which needs discussion by everybody, the pastors, the reverends, the priests, and all the community leaders and the parents. Because when we brought our children here, some have been born here. And when they think it is okay to, now this one, just one example, which I didn't even mention about marriage. If my son thinks it's okay to bring somebody's daughter home, they just rush to the courthouse. At a 5-minute marriage is ordained by the judge. And they didn't involve me. They didn't involve the parents of the girl. To me, that's not a marriage. And this is why, because they go, the two of them, in the dark, without informing us, This is why we are finding so many divorces. I personally believe when I was married, and that's what most Africans believe. When you are married by somebody, you are married to that clan, to that homestead. That means even today, after my husband left, I can still go home and I'm respected by his brothers, by the sisters, because I belong to them. Even without Moshene arrive, I still belong to that clan. And my children belong to that clan. But if they didn't know me, how would I be, when I go to, how would I be going to their homes? They will not know me. They will just think it's another woman who was staying with their brother in Nairobi and then they relocated. So these are some of the cultures, the traditions like dowry. Okay, I know most people in the first world, I don't know, they need to be taught what dowry is because most say, how can you buy a human being? There's nobody buying a human being. But when they bring dowry to me, I have one girl, when they bring dowry to me, however little, actually it never used to be money, it was some few goats, or other cultures would bring a cow or something. So when they come, like last December, but one, I was called to Kenya by the in-laws to my daughter. They wanted to see the mother of this girl because they were told by the son, okay, we are married in America. I married a Kikuyu. We have 3 girls. The father said, where are the parents of the girl? My daughter has gone to Kenya, to Nyakach, Kisumu, many times with her husband, but that last 2022, they said they wanted to see me. So they came, and they came like 3 matatus. We met, we ate, we spoke. So last year, some of you know that 8 people
Mrs.
from that
Moshene, I
family.
wanted to let you know we are on YouTube, so you're aware of that. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So when like the family died, I didn't go to strangers. And this is why I'm saying we should get to know the parents of both the groom and the bride. I am not saying that everybody should do a white wedding, but still, even without a white wedding, we can organize Rurashio. We meet, both parents meet, and it is normally a very, very good thing. Thank you, Mr. Kamnao. I didn't know you are recording on YouTube.
I have a last question, and then Kevin, can you read the question by Chaplain Daniela right there? And it goes to what I was saying before. Um, do you think the culture that we were raised, my dad in Kenya used to put his legs, he comes from work, and then there's a newspaper, he reads, he puts his leg across the table, and my mama was like, oh, baby, what do you want to eat? Baba Tony, what do you want to eat? And then we were raised with that kind of mentality. When we come here, it's like everybody has to clean their dishes, we have to help each other with bills. And I feel like the divorce rate is so high in these communities, and because I'm a leader, I can tell that. Is it because we don't have people teaching us that? Is the church has failed? Because I feel like the church should be able to tell us, hey, man, when you come to America, don't behave like your dad. Tony, when you come to America, don't behave like your dad. Your dad used to stretch his leg across the table, and the mama brings food. It's different here. Do you think the churches, we community leaders, have failed to teach our that kind of mindset that things are different here? And that's my last question. And Kevin, you can read what Chaplain wrote up there. Thank you.
So I don't think there is a big difference between change of culture. If you can remember, your mother served your father because most of the mothers were housewives. So they were not going to work. So the husband comes, he's tired. We never used to have cars like we have here. So somebody has spent like 2 hours to get home. So it is reasonable for him to come and sit and be served. But again, here, women have opportunities to work in all areas, in all fields. But I still feel, I'm talking as somebody who came here with my husband when we had been married for like 20 years. So there was also that cultural shock. But like I wanted to conclude is let men be men and let women be women. When I used to live with my husband, if I would find plates in the sink, I would complain. Because these divorces are coming because of very minor things, or kitchen chores and all this. At least here, people can come up with a plan. They use the dishwasher. If you are doing two jobs, husband and wife, then you are able to hire somebody to come into a house like this one and do some detailed cleaning once a week, so that your life will be easy instead of fighting over laundry, fighting over, you know. I just find it ridiculous. People should divorce because of bigger things, not because of folding laundry, cleaning dishes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, come now and Ms. Christine Machena for sharing culture, language, songs, food, gathering. That's what I hear is this bringing the family together. And a lot of issues can be solved. A lot of things can be shared. And first question from the chat here is from Chaplain Daniela. I was taught in Africa culture, everyone gets involved in supporting a couple having marital problems. Has that changed?
Yeah, it has changed, especially here in diaspora, because of lack of trust. I have mentored many people, counseled many people, but you can see, and even when they are divorcing, I have met some and talked to them, there is that lack of trust. One told me, I don't want to go to church. I don't want to go and tell the pastor this. I said, why? The pastor is the right person. He said, these things will still come out. So I'm sorry to say, because I can see some pastors here. Most of these young people don't have trust anymore with the church. They say when they take their problem to the church, sometimes the problems are become the sermon. So if we can have, our children could have trust, maybe we would have more discussion with them. And I know, especially the weddings which have been done here, I am normally not the person to be referred to go and talk to Miss Mosene, because she has been married for a long time. The marriage counselors are in the church, but through my own investigations, they don't, I don't know whether it's being shy, but they don't come out, like tell these young couples who are planning to get married exactly how it is. When I talk to young couples, I talk the way it is, whether it is about the kitchen, about the living, about the bedroom. I talk it the way it is, because it is either the chores or the biggest problem is in the bedroom. So that is another topic of another day, because it is a long one.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll need to bring you back. I'll take one more question and then we'll pivot back to our next presenter here. Thank you. These are really good discussion and a really good key pointers, so we can know how to make our next steps and also how to incorporate culture in our homes.
Kevin, are you seeing those comments? I don't know if you can read some before the next. I don't know. They're very great comment.
I'm on the next question here. What is a good balance between nationalism and tribalism? Nationalism and tribalism.
There's no comparison, because each one has its own job. Even in the Bible, we had Jews, we had Jews, we had Pharisees, we had scribes. So I am proud to be a Kenyan, but I will not shy to say I am a Kikuyu. Because let's say, like I have a Kikuyu Bible. I am not very good in reading Kikuyu, but I'll tell you, when I read a Kikuyu Bible, the message, it comes deeper than when I read an English Bible. Why? Because I think as a Kikuyu, I think in the Kikuyu language, then I translate. You have had people here talk and you say, oh my goodness, that is a direct translation. Yeah, because the person is thinking Kikuyu, and is supposed to speak in English. So I would not say that we get rid of the tribes and we focus on nationalism. I still think both of them are important, but nationalism is too wide. So culture is there, like Kenya, we have 43 tribes with a different culture. Let the Kikuyus teach their children their Kikuyu culture, the Kalenjin, their Kalenjin culture, and then we come together with like people with culture as a nation. So we cannot start from up.
Amazing. Thank you. Great question. I'll take the last one and then come now just read a couple of these comments. So last question from William. What is actually from Zalendo? What are we not forming new evolving culture here as we assimilate to the new practices and lose others? I think it ties also to mind, does culture evolve or it just stays?
Well, sorry. Yeah, culture evolves because what I found my grandmother wearing is not what my mother was wearing. My grandmother or my great grandfather, they were wearing skins. Then my grandmother, they started wearing cotton sukas. So it went on like that because I said culture is song, language, song, dance. So when you are dancing, you have an outfit for dancing. And it is through that dancing that you could recognize this is a dance for married people because they dressed differently. One thing I know about the culture, I know people say, oh, the people never used to cover the whole body. But one thing I know, even the mothers who used to wear the skins those days, they had something called muduru for inside because there is that part of the body which needed to be put away from the public. And that is now the part of the body which every girl here wants to show. So culture evolves, dressing evolves, but we should not allow it to just disappear, just like our languages are disappearing. Even if it is about dressing, we should not allow it to disappear. Food. Go to these West African homes. I have friends. They cook the real fish from their place because they still want to maintain their culture through food, through dance. So it can evolve. It has evolved, but let us try to not to make it disappear altogether.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your comments and answers. Come now, can you read a couple of these and then we'll switch over back to Reverend One Boy.
Professor Ngeo in the building. Thank you for being here, you and your wife from Kansas. Good comment. It says here, I'm going to start with Zalendo, that because people spend a lot of time looking inward, which sparks meaningless competition. If you are rowing a canoe in the middle of Indian Ocean with your friend, it's more productive to work cooperatively against the odds instead of competing on who is the captain of the two canoe. Perfect. Let me say, Dr. Ngewa, thank you for being here again. One main issue with families across board is the failure to understand spouseship. I didn't know there's a word like that, spouseship. We take our spouses casually and relate with them like any other regular man or woman. Spouseship enters a high hierarchy level. It has infusion of two being in one but existing in separate bodies. That's a good point. Charles, good point. Thank you, Charles. I think we need to choose what to incorporate with our children, especially those born here, can relate. Cow herding, for example, is out of question. Some practices can be taught, but we can mention them to our kids. Good comment. Mzalendo again. I wanted to read a William B. Talk. I saw William B. Talk comment up here. Do you see it, Kevin? If you can see it, here we go. What is a good balance between nationalism and tribalism? I think that was a question. Appreciate it. That's William B. Talk, I think a pastor from, thank you for being here, from Dallas, Texas. Amazing. Thank you. Great people here. Thank you so much for joining. Reverend Wamboy, take it over from here. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Madam Christine, for sharing. And as we have discussed, culture evolves, and I am not the best person to encourage you because I have worked with the public school system. We are the one who are suppressing your culture. If you have come into the United States of America, we encourage you to adopt middle class culture. And for many of us, we also have the Christian culture. If your tribe or nationality culture fails, please remain a Christian. You will not get lost. Thank you very much. We have 2 more presentations, and then we are going to ask you to put your questions on the chat so that the presenters will only answer the questions. So we are not going to read every comment, but you save it. And our next presenter is Dr. Daniela Sullivan Bazos from Georgia. She is a professional, a licensed professional counselor. She is a licensed chaplain. She's an ordained minister. And so I say next time we have this mental health conversation, I'll ask her to bring several hats for all those credentials. So we want to welcome her. The next presenters, they have to present for 15 minutes only, then so that we will leave time for your questions and answers. I want to acknowledge in absentia Dr. Wangeshi from Arizona who joined us, and she herself is an advocate of mental health for Arizona, especially Phoenix area, and also in Kenya. I have seen a lot of great work that this woman of God does in Kenya as well. If we are not able to appreciate you by name, I just want to say, let me suggest thank you to Margaret Video, because we share a name and we talk about our names. Our names are Margaret, and Margaret means a child of light. So in order for us not to take too much time, I'm not going to call out the names of my 2 sisters. One is in Kenya, is on that platform, and another one is in Vermont. So I'm very grateful for them to be here. Welcome, Chaplain Daniela. She's more like a Kenyan. She hangs out with us. And she has been here for a long time with this mental health. She's really conversant with it. Her topic is very interesting. Let me just say, what should I say? When she told me, I was like, oh no. I was like, oh, I was not on video, but I was thinking, oh no. So I'm going to let her tell you about it.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I am so excited about this forum and demystifying mental health. And so my goal in presenting today was to start off with demystifying. So I started off with my title with STDs, what to be aware of. And of course, in America, STD stands for sexually transmitted diseases. But today we're talking about stress, trauma, and depression. And so as our former speaker, it covers a wide range. So I'm trying to honor 15 minutes to get my point across clearly. And obviously, both Reverend Wambui by breathing set the stage, and our previous speaker by culture also set the stage, because family is one of the most important parts of mental health, because your family will either support mental health or it will contribute to problems in mental health. And so one of the things that I wanted to point out with counseling in particular, and my son actually gave me the acronym because I was talking about STDs, is that we should stop, we should talk, and we should debrief. And we should do that in families when there's conflict. We should do that in any environment, when there is an issue that needs to be discussed. And I think culture is very, very important, because your culture shapes how you interact and who you are. It's part of your identity. And we have to know who we are. And like Reverend Mbui said, when you are a Christian, it shapes your identity. And so there are many forms of spirituality, and our forum, is talking about mental health. But I think you do a disservice to spirituality if you don't bring up that Christian culture is a very important part of building a healthy mindset, because the Lord talks about that we renew our mind, and he gives us hope when it comes to death, that we have eternal life, and all the subjects that affect us. If you look into Christianity in the Bible, you will find an answer. So when that is part of your culture, it is something that is very beneficial. The problem that we have today in America is that America, which is founded on many nations and immigrants, is actually moving away from a Judeo-Christian culture and moving into other cultures and spiritual values. So one of the reasons I'm going back to family is because family is where we teach and we grow the next generation, which is so important. And today, because of stress and economics, and usually a 2-family income in this country, a lot of people are not raising their children, and they're not being involved enough. And so now, even with the onset of the internet and all the things that are happening, a lot of young people are, even with mental illness and, you know, whatever the issues are, they're looking it up on the internet versus going to the elders. And my topic is mental health for seniors. And a senior is defined as someone in this culture starting at age 55 and older, but for retirement age, it's typically 65. But most people in America are now retiring at 62. And so we are the fastest growing age at 65 of seniors in America. So the bottom line is there is a lot of wisdom in America. There are a lot of people who have a lot to give as seniors. But the problem is, if your culture does not honor the elders, then you lose out on a lot of wisdom. And as our previous speaker, my condolences that, you know, you lost your husband. The problem even now is that when you're a senior, a lot of people have become widows or widowers. And so there's a lot of loneliness in this age group, which when it comes to grief is, you know, a big part of mental health. When you're grieving, you experience depression and all other mental health issues. So the bottom line is that grief is part of how mental health is affected. So when we talk about mental health, a lot of times people think, you know, and I'm for lack of a better word, they think of people that are just crazy. And you know, we put stigmas on mental health, when mental health is really our behaviors and our actions that are affected by our mind. And I think that's one of the reasons the Lord in Christianity says we need to renew our minds on a daily basis with the word, that we have the right attitude, the right support, the right activity as far as how our minds operate. And so I want to go back to, I could go off on a tangent. I want to go back to stress, trauma, and depression. What is your stress when you are a senior citizen? And you know, it's after the age of 55 already, you're a senior citizen, and a lot of people are still working. You don't really feel like you're a senior or an elder, but you are. You have wisdom, you have things to share, but there's a lot of stress in the health area, for example. So, you know, Reverend Mbuyi had mentioned that it's important that you go to the doctor and that you check out, you know, your health, that affects us, and it affects our mental health, because when you have a diagnosis, and for those of you who are on prayer chains, you know that there's a lot of prayer in the church for illnesses. And a lot of that has to do with seniors and their health, because as we age, our bodies age and we have more problems. And so seniors have a lot of medications a lot of times that affect them negatively as well, with side effects. So seniors have a lot of complications and difficulties, which cause a lot of stress, you know, whether you're alone, whether you have an illness you're dealing with, or you're just maintaining your health. So there are a lot of stressors for those that are seniors. And so one of the things, when Reverend Mbuyi breathed, I'm just going to bring this up right now, and I'm going to do a really short breathing exercise. Because there are different breathing exercises. And one of the things is that just breathing alone will just calm you down. And so what happens is, when you do like the breathing, usually you breathe, you know, 2 and then 1 and then 4, meaning that your exhalation is supposed to be longer than your inhalation. So the reason I picked 2, 1, 4 is because it's simple. So whether you're at work and you're stressed, whether you're going through something and you're having a conflict with someone, you need to stop, because the brain gets flooded when we have conflict and stress. And so it usually takes about 20 minutes for somebody that's in a conflict to calm down so that they have the right perspective, because when the brain gets flooded, you don't think. And that's why when you're in an argument, most people take things the wrong way, because your brain is overloaded. And so breathing is a really simple technique just to stop. And so, you know, in the mental health field, it's called mindfulness. So I'm just going to, with you, just real quick, we're just going to take a few seconds like Reverend Boy did, but I want us to focus on breathing in and out, but to the count of 2, and then holding your breath for 1, and then breathing out for 4. So just take a moment real quick, and we're going to do it just like Reverend Boy said 3 times. So right now, we're going to breathe in to the count of 2. Breathe in. 1, 2. Hold for 1, and breathe out for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, breathe in for 2. 1, 2. Hold for 1, and breathe out for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more time. Breathe in. 1, 2. Hold and breathe out for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you're breathing in, and just continue just to breathe normally now for a few seconds. Breathe in and out. As you breathe in, you give your body oxygen, and your body relaxes and your brain shifts. So whenever you're feeling stressful, and it can happen at a job, it can happen with family, take a break, just breathe in and breathe out as Reverend Boy did. And you'll notice it's such a simple technique, but it's a big deal. And they have, you know, somewhere they'll say, you know, breathe in for 4, hold for 2, and then end for 8, but it's always double when you breathe out. So just if you can remember 2, 1, 4, that's a really simple breathing, and it can relax you. And we're under a lot of stressors these days. You look at the news, you know, in families, if you're dealing with illness. And then when we go to trauma is something that is specific to different things that happen to us. And I have to pay attention to our time. Abuse can cause trauma, death can cause trauma, suicide in a family is very traumatic and affects everybody. And we're having a problem now with our younger populations committing suicide. And if you are military has a high suicide rate. I'm actually an Army brat. My father, you know, traveled the world to protect America. And so there are different stressors for different people. And so if someone in your family has committed suicide, that's a big stressor. When it comes to mental health for seniors, a lot of times the trauma is related to a health diagnosis. And so right now, if you were from North Carolina in America and lived in Asheville, a disaster is also a trauma and will affect your mental health. And, you know, we all respond differently to traumatic events, whether it's a disaster, you know, you either respond in fight, flight, or freeze. And that's just, everybody has a natural response. Some people fight, some people freeze and do nothing, and others run away. And so those are natural responses to trauma. And sometimes, depending on what's happened to you in your life, if you grew up, for example, in war, as we're seeing war everywhere in the world right now, you will have a response in reaction with other people when you have a conflict, even that you will respond in those ways. You will fight, you will run away, or you will freeze. And so that is a trauma response in the brain. And so when you're having communication that you're having to work on, even with the spouse, you need to know what they've been through and where they've come from. So the last thing is, and I need to pay attention because time is running out. There's so much I could talk about. Depression is on the rise, and it's actually one of the most underdiagnosed things when it comes to seniors. And some issues that are even connected to depression are alcohol use. And what we're actually finding is that there's a higher rate of alcohol and even drug use in the later onset in seniors. And so we're actually having a lot more drug and alcohol problems than we realize. And I think it's something like a third of the seniors have late onset alcoholism now. And so they're saying 17% of adults 60 or older misuse or use drugs. So that's a big statistic. And so we're not talking about these things. And a lot of people are self-medicating with drugs or alcohol, regardless of your culture, they're coping with that. So again, I want to go back to what's really important is that we have to take care of ourselves. That's breathing, stopping, taking inventory, taking care of your health. That all affects your mental health. And if you're depressed and if you're in bed and you're not getting out and you're not even wanting to take a shower anymore, you need to seek a professional for some help and support. And a lot of times within the Christian communities, nobody really wants to address these issues openly. So I'm really grateful for Reverend Mabui trying to demystify mental health, because sometimes we just have to do practical things. And like our speaker previously said, we have to pay attention to our diet. A lot of seniors are dehydrated. You'll see me drinking. I'm actually a senior too. I have to force myself to drink. And so I have to do techniques to help me. So I take care of myself because I've also been a hospice chaplain. And when you are a hospice chaplain, you see that a lot of people have not taken care of their bodies. They have not exercised. They have not eaten right. They've had way too much stress, which leads to hypertension. So those are just even some practical things that we can look at to take care of our mental health, because our physical health, illnesses, and even medications we take affect our mental health. And so just to demystify and make it really simple, when you're going through something in your family, you need to stop, talk, and debrief. When you're going through any disaster, you need to stop, talk, and debrief. When you're going through depression, you need to stop, you need to talk, and you need to debrief. We need to communicate in our families, and everybody in a family knows somebody who's going through something. And if somebody in our family is acting strange, there's a reason, and we need to take it a step further and see what they need, because the family is the first, place of defense to protect our mental health and to either increase positive mental health or decrease it by the actions in the family. And so that's why I think Christianity and following a biblical worldview is very important, because God puts things in order, and he says men are to be respected and women are to be loved. Family is a place where we are to teach the next generation how they're to act and be, regardless of the culture that we're in. But yet we should honor culture, because God has made us a very unique bouquet, I would say, of flowers, with each having a special fragrance. And it would be sad to lose the culture that God gave us through where we've come from. And so I would just like to end with saying, stress, trauma, depression, just be aware they're out there. STDs happen, but it doesn't mean that that's the end of your health. You can go and get help. You can go to your health professionals. You can get support from your families. And when you are a senior, you're very valuable to your community and have a lot of wisdom. So please share your wisdom with others and take care of your mental health. And if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, you need to stop and take inventory of your mental health and take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And remember, in Hebrew, the Ruach HaKodesh means the holy breath of God. So remember, when you breathe, I believe God is with us, and we can be more aware of his presence and have better mental health, so we can support the communities around us, our families, and those that have need of support. So thank you for this time. I hope that it helped a little bit. There's so much to talk about. And I'm blessed to be here. Thank you again for demystifying mental health.
Thank you. Amazing. Thank you for sharing wonderful tips there. Stop, talk, and debrief. And it's a real thing. Wow. I see a couple the chats here coming through. I do have a quick question. I think it might tie into one of the questions from Miss Christine Moshene. And this is just something that I see. Welcome, Miss Christine and Chaplain Daniela, just to chime in on this. as we get more seniors retire, I'm very fortunate to work with geriatric population, and I see them telling me I used to work 30, 40 years at GM or 25 years at Delta, but after they retire, I'm looking at 3, 4, 5 years down the line, and it's like a ton of bricks hit them. What are some of the ideas or recommendation you have just to keep them engaged, keep them moving, feel important, feel valuable, and moving? And to me, I encourage my patients all the time. You got to get up and walk and move every day. But how do we get them going? You, Miss Christine, welcome to chime in on this because our culture, we come from where once you retired, you went up country and you had cows and goats and land. Now they retire, house is paid off, and the biggest distance is from house to the mailbox. How do
Yeah.
we keep this going? Back to you, Chaplain Daniela.
Well, I think that's a wonderful question. And, one of the things that is so exciting is that when you are a senior, you can volunteer, and volunteers are unpaid staff, usually a lot of times in a lot of organizations. And so I think that one of the things we have to look at is where can we volunteer in our community? Always start in your community, your church. There's never enough help, especially if you're a healthy senior and you're able to get around, because there are people in churches that they're just stuck at home. They can't go anywhere. They're desperate for somebody to call them. They're desperate for somebody to visit them. And a lot of times in churches, a lot of people just think it's just the pastor who goes everywhere, and the pastor can only go so far. So always, first of all, I think really if you're connected to a church, you need to check out where you can volunteer and where you can go. And depending on the resources you have, you might even want to go with others like Reverend Abui when they travel and they go and they minister in other states. There are a lot of activities, but locally also, there are senior classes typically for exercise. Now there's a big move for like silver sneakers, where people can go and they can exercise during the week, and they can meet other seniors, and they can go and stay active in the community. And also I really think you need to be a busybody when you're a senior. Be involved with, if you have grandchildren, like our previous speaker, 9 grandchildren, call them. Be involved. Even if you're not so great with some of the media things, FaceTime them, get them to help you with the technology, because the problem with young people now is usually their parents are working and they're so busy they don't have any time. Most adults are so stressed in our culture that the children, they're passing them off to the media and the media is raising our children in an unhealthy way, so that the elders need to be involved. If they have grandchildren, they need to be calling them. They need to follow up with them. They need to bug them. They need the wisdom of the elders. Even in America, it used to be that the elders would sit on the porches and they would talk to the young people. But the problem now is that most people are living, away from their family. Just like, even if you're in diaspora from your culture, most people aren't living in the same city. They're living in different time zones. And so I think, even like I've heard Reverend Abui, and I love this, she does a call, like a group call with the family. And so we need to, as elders, take the time to strategize, to plan those things, because even in America, what I've noticed, in the American culture, the matriarchs, once they're dead, the family doesn't get together anymore. So you always have to have an identified leader in the family that takes the time to bring people together, to fellowship, to do family reunions, to do family calls. There has to be a leader. And I think that seniors can do that. And I hope that answers part of the question.
Yeah, Ken, I think somebody in my comment, I think maybe we'll come back later. I have a burning question, but I think we'll come after the next speaker. I don't, if Reverend Boy, do you want me to ask it now or wait?
Okay. We have 5 minutes to
Okay.
study. Yes,
Okay.
One question is good.
Right. And this is me. I'm talking about me. 5 years ago, I used to work really hard at General Motors. And then I used to take a day, go to massage, take care of myself, go to the gym. And for the last 2 years, I haven't done that. I can see the difference in my body. I'm like, so what you're saying is we can work so much harder now, but we'll pay the price with our body. It's more sickness, overweight, and all that. Because I'm like, I see a difference when I used to get massage and I don't get massage. I'm like, there's pain in my legs a little bit. So what you're saying is we need to take a break and focus on our body, and then eventually don't spend it down the road. Is that what you're saying? Take a break, take care of ourselves.
Yes, yes. Self-care is very important, so much more when you're aging, because especially even if you've been athletic in your past, what you notice is as you age, we are breaking down, and it's hard. You can't do the same things. You think you can. I'm just going to give you guys an example. I got on a bike, and if you've ever ridden a bike, you usually know how to ride a bike, right? And what I tell people is when you're on a bike, once you get going, you feel like you're a teenager. Seriously, you do. But the problem is I stopped and I fell over because my balance, I was so shocked that my balance had shifted. So if you go to, for example, a Silver Sneakers class, they do a lot with balance, trying to get seniors to start balancing because our bodies change. And so we do need to do more self-care, but we need to do it on a daily basis. Even when we don't like it, we need to move. And the culture, my father used to tell me when I was younger, because he used to farm, he used to say, you don't need to exercise. You come work on the farm and you'll have plenty of exercise. Well, we're not an agricultural society anymore. Most people, that's crazy. They're sedentary. They're watching TV 6 hours. 6 hours. Think about that. We try to get people to spend 1 hour with God or 1 hour in the Bible. People are spending 6 hours on TV. We're sedentary. We have to have watches, right, that tell us it's time to stand. And there is a real connection between mental health and movement. So anytime you're stressed, even if you have some trauma, you should start moving, and get your body moving, because it moves the body into, a peaceful state and gets the brain going. So there's a lot to be said about movement. I think people need to take time and maybe start African dance groups. I think that would be very, and for men, I think the men need to be dancing again, because even David danced, and there's a connection between dance and mental health.
Right. I take your advice. I'm not going to take an advice from my friend saying, no, Tony, you're getting old. I'll take your advice.
No.
All right. Right there. God bless you. Thank you.
So age is just a number. You are as old as you feel. And I put a comment there. I specialize in rebranding seniors. Once myself, I turned to be a senior. I'm in the business. I rebrand seniors. I'm the one who talks to socials that are taking care of kids. They come to my workshop and they are given certificates. And then we brand them as that nanny group. And you cannot always underpay what you paid 3 years ago. Once you are rebranded and you have a certificate, even if you're visiting Kenya, you should not go back to Kenya without a certificate. Amen? Anyway, I'm like that. And thank you for introducing that topic about men, because our next presenter is going to discuss men's health, as we are raising this awareness across the board. Last night we talked about children and adolescents, and culture too, and we talked about the legal end. What happens when you are given a traffic ticket? Because these are things that increase our stress level. So as we are relaxing again, I tell people, shake your body, shake your body. Don't just sit during this Zoom meeting. Once you are not on video like I am, I actually got up and walked around here, so that not outside but in. I can hear you, Daniela, every word. So we are getting ready. Let's see if we can have a commercial. Relax again, because we are getting ready to hear our doctor that specializes in men. And we also want to appreciate those who have called in from Kenya We are going to have about 15 minutes when we are going to have, we call it tea. And at that time, you'll be off YouTube so that we can chat a little bit, have a little chai, tea, virtually, so that we can connect, so we can appreciate our speakers. Thank you, Madam Christine. She's the only one called Madam Christine. I'm sorry, America, because we were going to be talking about Madam President. But in Georgia, we have our own Madam President, Christine Moshene. That's what we call her, by the way. And this woman of God has been a great blessing. Dr. Daniela, thank you very much for hanging out with us and praying with us, calling and checking. Especially, I want to commend her. I lost my sister in June of this year. And I could have gone to see a counselor, but thank God, if you have a counselor who is a friend and can listen to you, that is a wonderful thing. So I had two. One here in South Georgia and my dear friend from North Georgia, and I would call her. And she has helped me a lot. And that will be in the afternoon when you have grief and hope. And in the afternoon, we also have sexology. All these elements, they make our life better. Also, mental health is our wealth. My mama said that. See, my mother used to pray and God answered her prayer. She said, I want to live and have my mental ability intact. And last night I said that. The doctor is going to correct me. We are formed in our mother's womb, cephalocordo, brain fat, head fat. We are formed like this. We go down like this. And the last organs that are defined after all the body organ systems is our sexuality. And that's what Hollywood highlights. And it feels like Hollywood takes the person God made and turns them upside down. So the head is up the ground and the feet are up and everything else. But thank God for all women of God and also our professionals. Let's see if I can share with you this commercial as we get into the men's conversation with the doctor. Can you check for me if you get this commercial that I'm sharing with you?
Mm-hmm. Every black man deserves happiness.
To win. That's what it is. Life.
Every black man deserves happiness, deserves wealth, passion, community support.
Peace. Shock. Happiness. Peace.
Every black man deserves peace.
Peace. Strong black woman.
Good black woman. Love. Beautiful black queen. To feel safe in this world. Respect.
A good black woman.
Every black man deserves peace. Peace, harmony, brotherhood, community, tranquility,
abundance,
respect, peace of mind.
Every black man deserves a chance to be himself, a chance to touch other lives, a chance to be a father, a friend, a brother, an uncle, to enjoy life.
It is now time to invite Dr. Gerald Mohati from Maryland, PhD, and he's going to talk about men's health. And the helper, if for questions for the men, we have designated our host today. Has he done a good job, Mr. Kevin? Here we go. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah, we see the screen. Yeah, good.
So I go ahead?
Yeah, Dr. Gerald, unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. So again, my name is Jared Mahatia. I'm a family provider. I do family medicine by training. I'm a registered nurse. And today I wanted to talk about men's health, and I put hypertension. That is not to say that women are not affected by hypertension. I just designated it as a men's issue because sometimes as men, we tend to slack behind on following up with our health care. So, and also actually hypertension affects more men than women, but it's not exclusively for men, as I'm sure you're all aware. And so the main purpose was just highlight this topic, how it's diagnosed, what is it, what can we do about it, and then finally, how has this to do with mental health? Because this is a mental health forum, I had to kind of come up with why hypertension, how does this affect your mental health? So what hypertension is defined as an elevated blood pressure, whereby your number of blood pressure is going up. There's certain numbers we measure, and this elevation occurs within your blood vessels called arteries. And in general, there's two types of high blood pressure or hypertension. This conversation will focus mostly on primary hypertension, which is the most common. And then the primary hypertension is when blood pressure is there, but we cannot identify any particular thing or item that can cause the blood pressure to be elevated. And then there is secondary hypertension, whereby you have an elevated blood pressure, but when you do a history with your doctor or yourself, you can figure something particular that is causing your high blood pressure. The secondary hypertension is normally caused by kidney disease most of the time. Some of the medications that we prescribe, you can cause high blood pressure. Illicit drugs like cocaine or amphetamines can cause your blood pressure to be elevated. Sleep apnea, there's birth defects, vascular problems, and pregnancy. All these are causes of secondary hypertension. Now, statistically, primary hypertension is the most common one, and primarily is a major risk factor of other heart diseases. In the United States, according to CDC, 49.6% of adults older than 20 years have hypertension. Some of them are being treated, some of them are not following up, but at one point they've been diagnosed as hypertensive. That's more than half of the population of adults. Interestingly, as I mentioned, it affects men slightly more than women. And in Blacks, ethnically is the most affected population, with more than 57%, almost 60% of people with hypertension are Blacks, very disproportionately. The other races are also affected with that. Now, in hypertension, there is risk factors that you can identify that causes high blood pressure. Some of these risk factors are modifiable, meaning there is something you can do about them so that you don't have the blood pressure or to reduce the chance of getting it. And some of them are non-modifiable. Non-modifiable risk factors are obviously your age, your ethnicity, your family history and genetics. You cannot change your age. You cannot change being African American or Caucasian or whatever your ethnicity. And you cannot change something that's in your genes because of where you came from as far as your family is concerned. So when we talk about primary hypertension or essential hypertension, we would focus more on eliminating risk factors, which can help so you reduce your chance of having the essential hypertension. One of the modifiable risk factors, this include obesity. So if you're heavy, if your weight is more than ideal, work on reducing weight. And then other things is sedentary lifestyle. I heard you talking about exercise, getting up and walking around during your break. That's a key way of avoiding being sedentary. Dyslipidemia is a type of disorder, which is actually elevation in cholesterol. your blood cholesterol, when it's elevated, it can cause you to be at risk for getting high blood pressure. I put alcohol consumption. By alcohol consumption, I mean excessive alcohol consumption. There is a healthy level of alcohol consumption, but I always say which has some health benefit, but I don't advocate for it because sometimes people go overboard. And when you go overboard, you just mitigate your health benefit of that. So if you're not a drinker, don't start because of getting the benefits of alcohol. Now, screening, when do we screen blood pressure? Blood pressure screening is recommended for everyone over the age of 18 on a yearly basis who don't have a diagnosis of hypertension. The normal blood pressure number we're looking for is 120/80 or less. If you have anything between 120 to 139 over 81 to 89, you're considered pre-hypertensive. And when you go above 140/90, you're considered hypertensive and you should consider getting treatment guided by a doctor or other healthcare professional. Now, the modifiable risk factor I just talked about, if you have this one, please work on it. And sometimes you may not be able to do it on your own. Like obesity, if you have any help you need, you can get it through other doctors. If you live with people that cook, you can talk to them and kind of work on a diet that's more healthy to reduce obesity. Getting some people to go exercise with to give you some company so you don't feel alone, it can help you get to lower your weight. And the same thing if you have dyslipidemia, which is high cholesterol, some dyslipidemia can be corrected on your own by diet, but some you need medication. And if you ever go to a doctor and they tell you, well, your cholesterol is high and I'm recommending to take medication, if you don't have hypertension already, take that on a positive side that you're reducing your chance of getting hypertension. The same thing with excessive alcoholism. If you can control it, it's considered a psychological problem, actually, a misbehavior. Seek out psychological help if you can't do it on your own. Now, the treatment for blood pressure consists of two things. Number one is lifestyle changes, which is non-pharmacological. Number two is medication. The main thing with blood pressure, regardless whether you need medication or not, you still need to do lifestyle changes if it applies to you. Because a majority of people have hypertension that they can control with modifying their diet, modifying their risk factors. And if you do that, it increases your chance of having to take less medicine. Medications are helpful, but I have to emphasize that they have side effects. And the more you can do with lifestyle changes, the better it is for you. But if medication is recommended, it's recommended because the benefit of the medication outweighs the risk of you not taking medications. Now, the non-pharmacologic things you can do, if you smoke, stop smoking. If you eat unhealthy habits like fried, too much sweets, too much candy, change those or do it in moderate proportions. Lose some weight and exercise more, and at all costs, avoid alcohol. Now, there's various different modes of treating blood pressure. The selection of medication is dependent on the history you give your doctor, and between you as the patient and the doctor, you can come up with a decision of which one is best for you. Typically, their medications are classified in most commonly in these 6 groups I've mentioned. Each one of them has an example. Like for example, depending on how high your blood pressure is determines which medication you will do, and also depending on your risk factors. Like people who have a mildly elevated blood pressure we normally start them with diuretics, which are also called quote-unquote water pills. They work by helping the body get rid of excess water and salt. And excess water and salt puts pressure on your blood vessels. And in the process, that's how they elevate your blood pressure. So when you reduce that, you lower your blood pressure. The second group is called S inhibitors or angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. And this particular group, they help your body produce less angiotensin. Angiotensin is a hormone or a chemical that your body produces. And if this level goes high, it makes it difficult for the blood to flow in your vessels. So when you take this medicine, they relax the blood vessel, and in the process, they lower your blood pressure. And the third one is the ARBs, or angiotensin 2 receptor blockers. These ones work by blocking the effects of angiotensin that we mentioned in number 2. And in the process, they relax your blood vessels again. And the next one are called the beta blockers. This group of medication work by lowering a heart rate and help blood vessel relax. The other one is calcium channel blockers, which work by opening your blood vessels, which might already be narrowed because of some other reasons. And the next one, the alpha blockers help reduce blood vessel resistance, because for some people, the blood vessels are resistant, meaning they're making the flow of blood difficult, and in the process, the blood pressure gets elevated. So when you take this medication, they help reduce that resistance. Now, again, as I mentioned, the choice of medication will depend on multiple factors, such as your age, your genetics. Do you plan to get pregnant? Are you pregnant? All this need to be put in consideration, and also how high is your blood pressure and what other medical conditions you have. All these factors are put in consideration to pick which one is the best for you. So you have to have a good relationship with your doctor, so that way you can come up with a better plan for you. The more open you are when you're giving your history, the higher the chance of having the best pick from the beginning of your treatment. Now, why do we care about blood pressure? Why should we care about blood pressure? Blood pressure is a silent killer in the United States and actually across the world. Why it's a silent killer is because a lot of the time, by the time you have signs that something is wrong with you and you are diagnosed with blood pressure, there is some damage that the blood pressure elevation has done to your body. Some of it reversible, some of it is not reversible. And you want to screen blood pressure on according to the guidelines I mentioned. And when it comes that you need treatment, start treatment early to prevent this complication. And actually, if you do regular checkup as a person, and even children on a yearly basis, blood pressure is one of the things they check. They call vital signs, is one of them. That in itself is a screening, even though you may have gone there for like something else that's not related to blood pressure. So we want to do that to help prevent this complication. The most common complication for blood pressure that's not treated and is uncontrolled is heart problems. And the common heart problem is a heart attack or myocardial infarction. The myocardial infarction can be fatal, meaning massive heart attack and you die on the spot, or it can be mild, and if you are caught early, you can be saved. Another one is a heart failure, whereby your heart just stops working. These are complications of blood pressure that can be avoided. The next one is a stroke. A stroke is a neurological problem whereby your blood flow to the brain is obscured. And when you have a stroke, you can have either temporary disability or permanent disability in form of weakness on one side, which can be permanent. And so can you imagine you're 40, you have a high blood pressure, you have children, you have a wife, they are counting on you, and you have a heart attack that disables you or a stroke that disables you because you did not do your checkup every year. can you imagine how that situation puts you in a predicament as a father, as a brother, or as a husband? So that's why it's key to do the screening. And the next complication is kidney disease, kidney damage. In the United States, uncontrolled blood pressure is among the top risk factors of kidney failure, which is sad because it's preventable if you catch it early and you treat it. And it's also the most common cause of kidney failure requiring dialysis. And I don't know about you brothers and sisters. I like looking young. I don't want to be 40 and I'm looking like I'm 80. So when you get damage from blood pressure and you get a kidney problem or a stroke, it makes you look older than what you are, and it limits what you can do. It kind of shorten your lifespan. The other one is a vision problem. You can get vision damage from uncontrolled blood pressure. And I think every man, probably even ladies too, will appreciate this one, erectile dysfunction. Erectile dysfunction is the inability of a man to maintain an erection to successfully have sexual relationship. And so when you're having erection dysfunction, consider, do I have blood pressure? If you don't know, go get checked out. Because if you just take the pills for erection dysfunction and you ignore the blood pressure, it don't help as much. You're masking symptoms. Okay? And then how does this affect mental health? As I mentioned, when you have a chronic disease, any chronic disease puts a mental burden to the person who is experiencing it. And it also puts the burden to the family members. Example, depression and anxiety. There is evidence that people who have a chronic condition, they have a high risk of getting a psychological problem, such as depression, worrying about, can I afford my medicine? How do people think about me now that they know I have this condition? And in the long run, when this happens, you become difficult to maintain anything you need to do. And likely not, if you don't take your medicine to treat your problem, you are likely to have this problem more than if you maintain your blood pressure under control. And so that's how it has an effect on your mental health. So my point is, as a man, the leader of the house, the leader of the community, we are looked upon as the leaders, which we should embrace. We should also be leaders at seeking medical help. It's very unpopular for men to look for doctors' help unless they are really in dire situation. We should embrace doing health screening, regular checkup. Even if it's not for you, embrace going to the doctor's visit with your children if you have them, or your spouse, or a friend that asks you, can you take me to a doctor's office? And in the process, you may learn something that can help you be a better person as a man. And it's also a good gesture to take the lead, because a lot of the time, from personal experience, we have less men seeking medical help, or they're being pushed a lot by their women, either their mothers or their spouses or their girlfriend. And really, which we should kind of turn the course around so we can take a little bit lead as men. And so they can also see we're trying. We may not be perfect, but at least make an attempt. And so at this point, if you don't, I'll take some questions if it's acceptable and if time allows. And I also say, let's focus on screening blood pressure. And if you find a problem, talk to your healthcare provider. If you don't have a good relationship with your doctor, or you have had a bad experience, keep searching. There are good doctors out there. There are good healthcare providers out there in every specialty. Don't give up based on one bad experience. And my resources included mostly the CDC. You can find some information about blood pressure, my personal experience, and other medical resources that I use in practice. And thank you. I'll welcome any question when the time comes, if it's okay with Reverend Wamboi.
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick, and then maybe you can give 2 questions, and then I'll be off on YouTube. If is that okay, Reverend Wamboi? I'll ask my question, and then I'll be off in the YouTube. Is that okay, Kevin? So everybody can ask question freely. I have my question, and then I'll be off in YouTube. My question is to the doctor. It seems like the blood pressure is the main issue in relationship, in marriages, in who we are. And I don't know, it's because of the jobs that we do in these countries. Because I think in Africa, we walk, we do all that. Is it because of the jobs that we do? We don't work out. We don't walk a lot the way we used to. And then what is a big deal with that, with the issue with, we said, erection issues so much with the blood pressure? That's the part. Is it because of the nerve? It affects nervous system, or what's up with that? Thank you.
I'll answer first question, then I'll go to the second one. The biggest thing with the blood pressure in the United States, for people that have to hold multiple jobs, which is quite a good amount of us, sometimes it can be difficult to carve time for exercise. And if you don't exercise, you increase your chance of having high blood pressure. And exercise, you don't necessarily have to run a marathon. It can be just as good as walking for like 30 minutes for a mile. See, somebody like me, I walk a mile for like 15 minutes. But if you are not a regular walker, just taking that 30 minutes to walk that 1 mile, that will be good enough than not doing anything. So we are more sedentary, sometimes by choice, sometimes not by choice. And then the other thing is stress levels can affect your blood pressure, because there's a the stress levels can elevate certain hormones that elevate blood pressure. So when we can, that's how controlling stressors help relieve blood pressure. Now, the second question is about ED. Now, erection dysfunction, blood pressure and erection dysfunction, the relationship is this one. Blood pressure causes what's called cardiovascular atherosclerotic disease, whereby if you don't cause your blood pressure control, your blood vessels get damaged. But because of this blood vessel damage, it slows down the flow of oxygen and blood. The lack of flow of oxygen due to blood vessel damage leads to erection dysfunction. And so that's the relationship between erection dysfunction and high blood pressure, and not just high blood pressure, but also other cardiovascular diseases. I hope that answers you.
Thank you. And out on the YouTube. Thank
you. Before you get off YouTube, I would ask Mr. Gerald about the question, the statistics you gave us. It says that a lot of Black men have high blood pressure, and you recommend that they get together with a doctor even from the early young age of 18. My question is this research based on, when you say African men, I'm thinking we are in America, we are not actually Black. I know Americans think we are Black. We are not really Black, are we? Honestly, we are Africans from Kenya. The statistics do not even capture us. So when you say Black, I'm thinking about, and we have African American men here because, this is a public forum. So can you please let us know, do you mean Black as in America? It's America that causes Black. I thought, or is it from homeland Africa? Or are we the same? Are we from the beginning, since we are from Mother Africa and we were brought here, do we share these common traits? Because this is not right. This is very unfair, but by the grace of God, we're going to make it, because you're saying that there are medications that can treat. And I know that people are living longer now with modern medicine than ever before. So that's my concern.
Okay, no, so in medicine in general, or when I talk about Black, I'm talking about African American descent African descent, because we share some genetic component, believe it or not. What happens is when you are from Africa and you've been in Africa, some of these things are less common because of the lifestyle, the healthy foods. We're walking miles as part of our jobs. So we're suffering less of those. And then when you go to like a modernized Africa, like Nairobi, the same thing, obesity is just as bad as here. But why? Because of limited activities and bad eating habits. So when I'm talking these statistics by Black, it's based on African American likely, but as African nation or people of color, we have a higher risk than people who are not Black. So what we can do is just eliminate risk factors. It's just that when we are in Africa, we are a little bit more active than when we get here because it's just different living environments. And that if you are in Africa, especially if you are physically active and you live rural, you eat healthy, you're not buying too many hormonized things, you have an advantage than a Black person who is here. That's it.
Thank you very much. Yes, Black like me then. Yeah, okay. That's very good information. At this point,